Good morning, all distinguished guests, our friends, colleagues, and speaker. So now we have the first thematic plenary session of the Meghna Knowledge Forum 2, entitled "Strengthening Strengthening Community Livelihood Resilience." I hope this session will be very interactive, and I hope you will enjoy. My name is Sarwar Alamdipu. I am Program Manager of IUCN Bangladesh Country Office. This session explores how inclusive community-led approaches, NBS, nature-based solution can secure livelihood and ecosystem in the Barak-Meghna Basin in the face of increasing climate risk and environmental degradation. There are several aims of this session, particularly explore climate risk in the Barak-Meghna Basin, highlight community-led resilience practices, identify support needs, and overall facilitate cross-sector dialogues. This session includes a couple of things. Two presentation along with some case studies, a interactive panel discussion, and definitely we want to learn from the participant as well. That is called open discussion and closing remarks. In this regard, it is my pleasure to introduce our session chair, Professor Dr. Devesh Walia. He is a dean at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, and he has over 35 years of experiences, particularly in the policy sector. He serves on several national environmental and disaster management committees. Also, I'm introducing our co-chair of this session, and Dr. Mokhlisur Rahman. He is Executive Director of Center for Natural Resource Studies, CNRS, and the Chair of Bangladesh IUCN National Committee Bangladesh, and he has an environmentalist with over 3 decades of experience in community-based resource management. I would like to request both of them, Mr. Chair, Dr. Walia and Dr. Rahman, may I kindly invite both of you on dais. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Co-Chair. Now, I would like to request our Chair, Dr. Devashish Walia, for his kind opening remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Hope after the last day and the evening, we are all refreshed for today. Today, it is going to be more of a responsible type of session where we must feel responsible for the communities, responsible for the indigenous people, responsible for the youth and the gender in the region. Why I said this? Because we know, if you have noticed yesterday's Barak-Meghna River basin, around 300 kilometers aerial distance, this river flows. And it passes through the initial stage of the river. It becomes youth, it becomes mature, and it becomes old. So this is what is the one of the shortest phase of any river, that it starts and it becomes old in such a short length span or short area. Although, if you'll just notice, it takes lot many zigzag. These are not small zigzag features, they are big zigzag features, which indicates the region is very, very active. Hence, it is very dynamic, seismic prone, and lot of issues people already are facing in that region. To complicate their life further, around 82 square kilometer of the area, around 50 million people dependent upon that basis. To complicate their life further, the climate change is posing further threat, and which is supposed to disturb their livelihood. Of course, you know that as it moves on. At the same time, one more point you all must remember, that this is the most rainiest region of the world. Maximum rainfall occurs in the world in this area only. So now we know that the river is there, small area is there, that much amount of water. If I'll say 11,000 plus millimeter means at every point on the surface of the earth, there is 1.1 meter of rainfall in a year. Means huge sum. I am also equivalent to say 1.34 meter, 1.23 meters. So this much elevation of water is falling on each and every spot. So what it must be doing? It will erode, it will take away all the materials, all the resources. So there is a transportation of all the eroded material, all the weathered material downstream. So it is this river, in a short span of time, it is not only disturbing the soil cover, the local communities, and has been disturbing. So again, the climate change has further complicated all these scenarios. So who is going to get affected, as rightly pointed out by in the morning recap session, that we need to understand the community which is living there. So it is, somebody asked that the role of the youth is only as a young professional, young person they are there, but these are the torch bearers. They have to go to the field, because such communities which are getting affected, if my house is broken down by any of the event, I don't have that potential, that mindset to come and express myself. So that expression has to be brought forward, not if they are not able to come physically for such meetings. So now this, until unless you strengthen the community at the base level, we know that if any incidents occur at any event, you can't provide the help so easily. Second thing is, these events in such a phase, whatever physiographic divisions I told you of a river, if you can't provide anything there, at least you strengthen the community. And by strengthening the community, what you are doing, by strengthening the community, you are building resilience. So they may lose their house, their property, their livelihood, whatever. But at least if they are prepared, they'll be able to rebuild and move forward. That's what is the whole target. And I am very much thankful to the organizers that they have kept first priority, strengthening communities' livelihood. Because if livelihood is lost, it creates a lot of disturbances, and it may bring in a lot of issues which may be beyond our control. So if we strengthen the communities to deal with the situation locally, probably the things, at least they'll be able to deal with their livelihood, they'll be able to survive, and not only survive, they'll be able to stand up with confidence and move forward in their life. So without taking much time, I would like to again remind you that basically we are here to build up the policy, to build up the advice, advocacy, so that these local communities which are getting impacted. Now, if I'll tell you that what all impacts may be there, you know that there is an ecosystem, river ecosystem is there. The communities in such a short area, I said aerial distance is around 300 kilometers. If in such an area, so much variety is there, of course, biodiversity change will be there because rivers originate from the hills, flows down to the deltaic region. So much diversity is there. So the communities there, they are of course very lucky to have so much variation. And hence they have got lot of, see, forest resources, river resources, everything they are getting. So if they get more, they are at more risk too. That's what is important point which I want to stress upon. And if something more is at risk, the risk or resilience not to lose that is of great importance. And movement of fishes, movement of soil, movement of excessive rainfall, everything is posing definitely the complexities in the life. So I think we'll move forward, and whenever time will come, I too will interfere. But our speakers, the way it has been arranged, hopefully they'll give better insight, some more insight to build forward and to take you to a level where you are able to understand the complexities and intricacies of this Meghna basin, and to come forward with some of the better solutions, because we need involvement of each and everyone, because it is a big issue. It is not a small issue, as we all know. So we need involvement of, if something is big, at least awareness, outreach, and involvement of each and everyone sitting in this hall, because we know that each person sitting here has got at least say colleagues, friends, relatives, siblings, whatever you call them, hundreds of them are there. So in this room, if 100 people are there, multiply exponentially. So you are getting so many people opinions, so many people to their work in the field. That's what is the inspiration, motivation for all the speakers. Thank you for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So to set the scene, we now invite Dr. Niladri Gupta, a regional coordinator for water and wetlands, IUCN Asia. He will deliver the keynote presentation based on the Meghna climate change analysis report. Dr. Gupta is a water resource specialist and has led multiple climate resilient water initiatives. Over to you, Dr. Gupta.
Okay, good morning. So yesterday I was also speaking at the first session, so today I have also been given the opportunity to speak. But I think if I stand at the dais, then it will be difficult to explain a scientific report. So as you understand, Dr. Walia already mentioned the morphology of the river, how it changes from the hills to the plains. And it's just 300 kilometers of aerial distance, which is very short in terms of a river. So I would be presenting a bit of the aspect that Dr. Walia mentioned about if this river system is flowing normally, all the climate parameters are working well, then it's easy to manage. But we have the climate change factor coming in, which is actually becoming a noise in the system. And when there is a noise in the system, you cannot communicate well. So this the presentation is more on to understand the climate challenges. So, okay. So, sorry. Yeah. So this report, the scientific study, was actually commissioned by IUCN, and it was conducted by the Center for Environmental and Geographic Information Services, Bangladesh, and the Northeastern Hill University, Dr. Walia's team. And I think there is someone from CEGS also. So I would like to acknowledge both your team's effort to develop this report, which IUCN has actually edited and compiled, and that's what I am presenting. CGIS did the Bangladesh component, while NEHU, as it is called in a short form, did the Indian component. So what's the climate crisis? We do not say any more climate change. That we have passed that phase. It's now a crisis all over the globe, and no place is saved from it. So one thing we have to understand, if you have been following recent global reports or any conferences that you were attending, water and climate change are deeply intertwined. You cannot separate those two. And the main change that you are seeing every day is because of the change in the water cycle that is happening. And in the future, which has already started, and as we go into the future, it is going to exacerbate, and that will impose further stress on the livelihood and food security, as Dr. Wali also mentioned, of the communities, the indigenous communities, their farming practices and others. It will have a big impact. And then in the Barak-Meghna basin, what this report actually speaks about is that extreme precipitation frequency is increasing. And if extreme frequency precipitation is increasing, the flash floods are likely to occur. And yesterday you heard from the Honorable Advisor, as well as from Dr. Gupta from IIT Roorkee, that these flash floods are actually a major impact of the climate crisis, which is creating all the issues, whether you talk of the terrain, whether talk of the practices there, the livelihood opportunities, and all the knock-on effects. And another part is that 50% of the basin is experiencing increasing temperature trend. And the increasing temperature is not the maximum temperature only. It's also the minimum temperature. And when the minimum temperature increases, it has a huge impact on the crops. So it will directly or indirectly impact the food security. So let's talk about a bit of the temperature and precipitation. And I am not going to speak here numbers, because this is not directly to tell about 0.2 degrees centigrade to 6.22 degrees centigrade change. I will not speak those numbers, because this report will soon be published and it will be available to all of you, and you will get the details of the numbers. But what is the main thing that's happening, as again our Honorable Chair said, it's the highest rainfall region in the world. So if you see the Indian side, Cherrapunji, which is called, locally called Sohra, as I came to know from that, I was also not aware that locally the place is called Sohra, but internationally we know it as Cherrapunji. It has about a precipitation range of 1700 to 7400 millimeter, maybe more, because this is the data that was published in the report. And in the Haor region of Bangladesh, which is downstream, it's from 2000 to 6000 millimeter, depending on the location from north to south. But when this huge amount of rainfall happens over the hilly regions of India, then it has an influence on the flooding of the Haor region. And this flooding is very common in monsoon seasons all over South Asia, but it's not the flooding in the monsoon season. So there were analysis done of the IMD's precipitation data of IMD station, and the most distinct thing that has come out is that the monsoon rainfall is actually decreasing, but the rainfall that will increase is the pre-monsoon and the post-monsoon. So you will have these flash floods much before you are actually accustomed to. So yesterday, you remember Ambassador, His Excellency Ambassador of Bangladesh was speaking that the flash flood came in April and no one was ready for it. So this is the season which indicates, these things indicates the interseasonal shifting of the rainfall. But if you talk of the total precipitation, in most of the cases it has been reported that the yearly total precipitation is not changing. But the frequency and the intensity on a short period of time is increasing everywhere. And here also it's coming in either the pre-monsoon or the post-monsoon. And as I said, that the temperature of both maximum and minimum are increasing. So let's give a bit of overview of what's happening to the wetlands in the Kachar, Hailakandi, and Karimganj region. These are the districts of Assam in India. So major wetlands are located here. So this was analysis done from the Indian Space Research Organization's data doing some NDWI analysis. And if you see the left-hand side, which is 1998 and gradually to 2021, you see that the permanent water body is actually reducing in size and the seasonal water bodies are increasing. So this is, again, has an impact on the fisheries there. Because if the permanent water bodies are decreasing in size, then the fishing community will have less areas for fishing over the year. So let's see what happens in the How region. So this is the districts, the Sanamganj, Sylhet, Netrakona, Maimansingh, Maulibazar, Habibganj, Kishoreganj, and Brahmanberia. So here you see that what I just now told about is that the rainfall in April, and it's been already experienced last year. So if the rainfall in April surpasses 250 millimeter in Meghalaya and Assam, and around 400 millimeter in the Sylhet region, then high intensity flash floods are likely to occur. So how did the future information was collected? Because this is very important. All of you are aware that there are a lot of climate models, people do climate modeling, and there are various variation in the results that come. But in this study, the data that was used, this is a global data, a daily data. It's called the NASA Next GDDP. So this data has the unique characteristics of being downscaled, because most of the data are in 100-kilometer resolution that are available globally. But this is the only data which is downscaled to 25 kilometers, and it becomes easier to do study on the regional level. And we just looked into the 2050s. So we have to remember it's not 2050, it's 50s. It's a time span of 2041 to 2060. In between, the average is coming. So generally, we say it's data of 2050, but it's not 50, it's 50s. You have to keep in mind that. And we took two scenarios. So one is the business as usual scenario, and another is the extreme scenario. And the way the world is moving nowadays with the socio-political situation, the way governments are deciding on using fossil fuels more, it's more likely the extreme scenario is going to happen, something near that. So business as usual scenario is very unlikely, but still we did two to see the scenarios, and because if you get yourself ready for the extreme one, you can manage the lower ones. So a total of 36 models are available under this NASA Next modeling platform, and those were evaluated to find which models are actually appropriate for the northeastern region of India as well as the How region of Bangladesh. And there were around 8 models which were identified, which gives the more or less the correct information of this region, because all models are not valid for all regions. And an ensemble of those models were used for the analysis. So what's in store for the future? I will not go into the analysis because those you will get in the report, and those are numbers. So the first thing is that it's the Barak Meghna Basin is a climate vulnerable hotspot. That comes out from the report. So the basin spanning from India to Bangladesh is becoming increasingly prone to flash flood. Droughts also, because if the monsoon season rain doesn't happen, that will lead to drought. And these droughts don't compare with droughts in Africa or other countries. These are something called flash droughts, which happen for a short period of time. And whatever agriculture was happening, maybe when you were sowing the seed, at that time the rainfall doesn't occur. So the farmer cannot sow the seed and you don't get the production. So it's a drought like that, but not the droughts that we see in pictures in Africa where there are deserts and arid lands. It will not happen like that. And obviously the shifting rainfall pattern will affect 50 million people that we are talking of. And we are here to think how we can get information from these 50 million people to plan our actions. The shifting rainfall is already, I have spoken of, pre and post monsoon rainfall increasing. The interseasonal shift will alter the flood timing. This is very important, alter the flood timing and intensity. And the flash floods will also become intense and frequent. And that will, if this happens in Meghalaya and Assam region in the upstream, it will impact the How region in Bangladesh downstream. And yesterday also it was a mention about loss of fisheries and the agricultural crops, because suddenly these flash floods comes huge sediment load, which destroys everything. So what are the hotspots of the change? If I we have analyzed the entire region, and there was some categorization done on some indicators and others, which will be available in the report. But the high-risk zones on the Indian side are these two districts of Kachar and Karimganj. While if we go to the Bangladesh side, it's Sonamganj, Kishore, Trakona. So these three districts are the hotspot of change. And whatever adaptation measures we are taking, we are planning, we are to support the communities, these are the places should be the first in line and focus. Yeah, so what will be the impacts? The impacts would be a significant risk to agriculture and livelihood. Dr. Walia already gave an indication of that. So by 2050s, in 2050s, it will be under high emission scenario, 22.4% of agricultural areas in Bangladesh's Meghna Basin could fall into very high risk categories. So you just think 22% of agricultural area being at high risk, what the impact would be on the food security of that region or as a country as a whole. Then it's not only the agriculture, it's also the ecosystem. The forest and wetlands that will be threatened, as I showed that the permanent wetlands are becoming temporary wetlands or seasonal wetlands. So in India, over 10% of the ecosystem area is projected to be at high risk, while in Bangladesh, it would be 7.6%. So these are points to be noted, and if these things happen, this doesn't happen individually. It has always a knock-on effect on the entire system. And vulnerable groups which will bear the brunt, obviously the 50 million indigenous communities staying there, the women and youth, and they will be disproportionately affected with limited adaptive capacity and higher exposure to the climate hazards. So now it's time to act. That's why we are here, and we want to hear what the communities is understanding and seeing the changes, as well as what we as professionals should be contributing to the betterment or for an adaptation measure. So one is to protect and restore the critical ecosystem to buffer climate risks. That is, as IUCN, we always has been promoting, and we say that nature-based solution is going to work. So we should be investing more into nature-based solution, and that's why the investments should be there. And ecosystem-based adaptation strategies actually can build long-term resilience. So if we just think of a short-term 4 or 5 years, you will not get the effect, but overall, when you are talking of a long time period, the impacts will be seen, or the positive responses of these solutions will be seen. Then targeted adaptation. So policy and financing must be inclusive. And then prioritizing the locally led adaptation, which is very important, and enhancing the community's capacities to understand and to cope with the climate risks. Communities are always coping. It's not that we will say and they will cope. It's not, it doesn't happen like that. The communities are always coping, but the thing is that if some new investment or new technologies come in, then it helps to increase the space. It becomes a catalyst, I would rather say. Then using the climate risk data to guide investment. So when the investments happen, whether it's a private company, whether it's an insurance company, they want data. And we know that there is a big data gap in this region because of various data security issues that the government say. So integrating this type of studies and findings into the national and subnational plans will actually help the private sector or whoever comes to invest to get the real scenario. And last but not least is the enhanced cooperation to manage the shared resources. So this is always we are talking, and we have to see how we can actually bring this cooperation into a successful implementation on the ground. We know the main methods of cooperation, and so joint early warning system, data sharing, very difficult, but platforms like this or organizations, educational institute, technological institutes, and others can actually share data of their understanding. A lot of open source data are available. We say that something is better than nothing. If we want the perfect data, we would be waiting forever, and we will not have any option to do any work. So that's one thing. And sharing of the flood information and other hazard information between the two countries is also be important. So that's from my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Very insightful presentation. So now We have a case study presentation by Mr. Taposh Ranjan Chakraborty. He will join from online. Mr. Taposh Ranjan Chakraborty. He is a senior program manager at BRAC, and he has over 25 years experience in biodiversity conservation and climate adaptations. So over to Mr. Taposh. So you have only 10 minutes, so I would like to request you to finish your presentation by within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you.
You are audible.
Okay, thanks. Let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I missed participating physically there. So thank you all. And I am from the Howrah Basin of Bangladesh, and my case is on the traditional habitat conservation practice in the Howrahs of Meghna Basin. You know, the Howrah Basin is located in the mid of the Meghna Basin, and it is around 20% area of our total Meghna Basin. And because of its location within the basin, the Howrah is very important for the ecosystem of this Meghna Basin. And Howrah is one bowl-shaped depression, and it's found in part of Bangladesh. And I was on this keynote observing this keynote paper and found some studies in Haluakandi and other areas of Assam. So Howrah is found in Bangladesh. This is in the northeastern part of the country, and some Howrahs are also found in Tripura, and some are in Assam. So Bangladesh has 411 Howrahs. Also, there are some small Howrahs which is included in that inside this number. So I've conducted this study from the last June of 2023 and the December of last year. This was 1.5 years study, and there were literature review, direct observation, community consultation, and interviews. That's within ethnographic study, and study area the Medir Howrah, which was really a small Howrah located in Nasirnagar, Brahmanbaria. I am from this Howrah. And Tangwa Howrah, you know, this is a very one Ramsar side of country, and Hakaluki Howrah. I found that in different habitats of Howrah, number of species being conserved because of the taboos. And I found 13 animal species has been conserved by the community because of the taboos, like crabs, spider, and dragonflies. And among the fishes, some fishes has taboos of consuming, but in case of fishes, some are forbidden to take, or some for some period. But a few species, I found only 2 species that are actually not taken as food. Among the reptiles and mammals, okay. Can you see this slide moving or it's fixed?
It is not moving.
Yeah, this. Okay, I'll scroll in that way so that it will work. So among the fishes, I found two fishes actually not taken by the community because of their taboos, but other fishes there are seasonal restriction. And among the reptiles and mammals, we know this reptiles, turtles is macro, turtle is macro for Muslims, and this is also a way of conservation. And we found the dolphins in also in Meghna, also in Hakaloki. They the Hindu community there believe this is associated with goddess Ganga. So there are some. It's not really yet to be confirmed that whether dolphin is the Bahan or the crocodile is the Bahan. According to two communities, they some of them believe this is the makar is crocodile. But most of the people, local individuals with whom I have the interviews, they said makar is dolphin. And there are religious faiths for which some biodiversity being conserved. If we come to the land, I mean the habitat which are protected, we found in our basin 4 types of habitats are protected. One is called Ruposhitola, which is associated with goddess Durga, and you will find a scattered number of Ruposhitola, very specifically in Sunamganj district, I mean Tangwahar and Shonirhawar areas. There are Tholis. Tholis are only associated with god Shiva, and mostly centered by a ficus religious. And there are Maja Sharifs and Mura. Mura is a common habitat, and it's a good practice that if we can engage the youth and traditional knowledge to protect the Mura. Mura is actually a place which people believe that there are snakes there, or sometimes even some evil forces are there. I've studied 3 Muras and found that the number of species, important species, there is around 70 in one Mura. That's the Onutpure Mura. There was 62 species is wildlife are recorded, and in the Kamargai Mura, this 55 species are recorded. And a number of like the fishing cat is very rare, but both this Mura we recorded fishing cat there. Also seaweeds. And another practice which is being declining in number, this is called mana. Mana is a traditional practice, and where the community put a bamboo inside the wetland. And the objective is mana, the Bengali mana means forbidden, or you can do this, something like this. In Meghna, I have recorded 15 manas where people are not allowed, the fishers are not even allowed to fish there or put nets there. And one mana which was located near the village Nasirpur, we have recorded 33 species of fishes from one catch. Mana is actually selected in an area where there is a kua or kur. This is actually the kur. Kur is deeper than perennial water body and associated with some myths related to the flatfish. And the removal of the mud from this mana and other kuas, we found a traditional practice. This is called peritana. Peritana means they put one bucket made of bamboo, and when the bucket filled with the silt, they take out the bucket and the silt. So, and this silt is very clay type and called tin kamadi, means it is very, fertile, and they also make use this sorts of mud to make their yard and other bit like cemented. So one thing happened because of probably because of this less number of tree numbers are reducing there, or there is open mining in Meghalaya areas. This why there are some seal carpeting we have recorded in Tangwar Haor. According to the fisher, the mud, in this Peritana is become nearly increased nearly double. But in Hakaluke Haor, there is no changes in the volume of mud. So the thing is that there are taboos and the traditional practice of conserving individual species or habitat, but the knowledge management procedures is gradually fading. Knowledge from one generation to other generation is gradually fading because the number of local festivals are number is reducing. Again, the quality of this festival, it was earlier in a very festive mode, but now we have recorded many festivals are not that community is not practicing in that way. Also the folk songs which representing the conservation ideas, those are not now being practiced. Definitely the taboos has significant conservation values, and the taboos which are associated with the religious norms, the taboos related to species and habitat, they are surviving, but the taboos which are not associated with religious norms, which was only bridged with the culture, is not being under practice by the community. So from this paper, we found that the taboos have importance for conservation. Also, that we need to think about the taboos to conserve, that whether we will make the youth educated, know about the importance of taboos, because taboos are sometimes described as a not properly detailed or a belief which has no scientific values. So this is one thing that we need to work on, the taboos and the locality conservation tradition, and going depth on the science of this tradition. And for that, more attention is necessary. We also found that the habitats also and the species is related to the wetland etymology, and a number of habitats are in the noted in local proverbs and local says. And checking this Howard typonymy, we found that 15% of Howard's name in Bangladesh is associated with biodiversity. Like there are many Howard's names. Roa means associated with the fish rohu, and there are also Howard's names associated with trees and grasses. So this is the main challenges in this policy support, and only policies only wrote about this conserving the or research on indigenous knowledge, but the reality is the in the policies, the indigenous knowledge is treated as a knowledge from indigenous community. But indigenous knowledge is not only the indigenous community's knowledge. This is knowledge for that is generated from the community with a long experience of conserving the nature and the natural system. It's not considered in the policies. So the One recommended thing is that no proper documentation we found on the traditional knowledge, and ethnobiology is not popular in Bangladesh. And not only in the Meghna Basin, if we look on the ethnobiological practice, we only found that in the Garo Hill areas of Assam and Meghalaya, there are some studies on the ethnomedicine, but ethnobiology for conservation is yet to study. And intergenerational knowledge, there is intergenerational knowledge gap, and less priority attention. And for that, we need knowledge management for traditional habitat conservation practice. So this was the case that I found on the traditional knowledge habitat protection in the Howrah Basin of Meghna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taposh. So now we'll start a panel discussion. So we have a couple of panelists. So let me introduce our panelists. First, Dr. Fazle Rabbi Siddiqui. He is a Deputy Managing Director of PKSF from Bangladesh, and he is a climate change expert. So he is not available here, so he will join online. So the next, Dr. Abhishek Datta, Head of Environment of Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources at AIT, and he has over 200 publications. His work focuses on sustainable agriculture and food system. And our third panelist, Dr. Aravind Kumar, founder of the Indian Water Foundation, a former governor of the World Water Council, and expert on ecosystem-based adaptation. Next, Mr. Tishwang Dorji, Director for Environment, Climate Change, and BIMSTEC Secretary. And finally, Mr. Rahul Beast, co-founder and director, co-founder of M2I Consulting, a management consulting company on finance inclusion based out of India. And Dr. Abhishek Datta, right? Abhishek Datta. So I'd like to request all of the panelists, please join us on the dais. Now, hand over to our chair, Professor Dr. Devesh Walia, to moderate this panel and lead us through the remainder of the plenary session. Over to you, Dr. Walia.
Thank you, Deepu. I remember you by this name only. So we have got very good panelists along with us. So let us start with Dr. Abhishek Dattaji. You know that this basin is so much important, and there have been some questions posed to you. Probably we'd like to hear you in light of the queries, in light of the questions posed to you, so that we are able to build the community strengthening and as well as the livelihood resilience. So please go ahead with, should I ask you a specific query or?
No, I can overall. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And at AIT, I'm working for the past 13 years, primarily on water management issues, and I work on related to crops, because as we know, as the topic with climate change, we all know that that temperature will be increasing, there will be variability in rainfall, and that Asian countries, most of the Asian countries except few, so we are agriculture-based economies, including India, Bangladesh, and many other surrounding countries. So agriculture will be the most hit by climate change. So, and then the livelihood of the people, you know, of course, living in Meghna basins or some other areas, so will be highly impacted due to the impact of climate change. As most of our farmers are smallholder farmers with a very small land holding, so their impact will be much, much higher due to climate change. So in my research team here, so we are working on how the crop production will make the crops more resilient in the for climate change. So we are using different techniques and technologies to minimize the impact, because water is a crucial component everywhere, you know, and for crop production point of view, water is very, very important. So we are working to find out solutions. So in the event of climate change, or in the event of, you know, drought events, as many of the presentations they are talking about, so so different technologies we are working on. So recently I have got a big project from the Rockefeller Foundation USA, so where we are working on nature positive solutions, or you can say nature based solution, doesn't matter, on rice production. So I will give you some kind of ideas. We talk about resilience in community empowerment or building their livelihood. So what we are trying to do in this Rockefeller Foundation project is that, so you know that the rice is a very, very important crop in the world. So more than, you know, 3 billion people, they depend on rice, and rice will be impacted because rice requires the most amount of water for its production. And then rice also, production also releases, you know, greenhouse gases, primarily methane into the atmosphere, so which is also impacting climate change. So both ways. So here we are trying to find out, because if you know about the, you know, lowland rice production system, it is about the, you know, package. So farmers, they grow the seedlings in a nursery bed, then they transplant to the main field. In all of this process, it is a huge water intensive, you know, production systems. So, and in the event of climate change, we are expecting that, or projecting that the rainfall will be reduced. So we are trying to work on technologies or techniques so that rice can be grown without less water. So we are talking about two techniques. One we call alternate wetting and drying irrigation. So I know many of you will be knowing. So through which we have seen that the rice water use can be reduced as high as 40%. And at the same time, we can also substantially reduce methane emissions to the atmosphere. So alternate wetting and drying is one of the, you know, water-saving cultivation methods in rice production systems. So two important things, most of the cases, the farmers, they are suffering. One is the water scarcity due to climate change, and also the poor soil fertility. So to address that one, so we are using actually incorporation of biochar. So as you know that that we talk about soil carbon sequestration. So biochar is one of the prominent ways so that we can sequester actually more carbon for regenerative agricultural practices. So, and we have started those experiments, the greenhouse and field experiments in 2023. So we have seen very promising results by incorporating biochar and alternate wetting and drying irrigation, especially in the irrigated rice production systems, and some of the research has been also published. So there are techniques and technologies, many techniques and technologies are available to minimize water loss. So I am also heading another big project from the Asian Development Bank. It is actually happening in the northeast of Thailand, in Nan province, where we are working actually with the farmers, directly with the farmers, because these are all highland farmers. So they are practicing agriculture in the mountainous areas. So many of the areas, for example, in northeastern Bangladesh or northeast in India, so we have the similar topography. So here we are trying to introduce the climate smart agricultural practices. So I am telling you these kind of examples in connection with this, Meghna Basin. And so similar experiences they also will be facing with water or with soil. So in this highland agricultural practices, so we have introduced, this project actually started in early 2020. So now we are almost end of this project. So we have started with solar irrigation at the farmers field, and also we have introduced biochar, and we have also introduced key line plowing system. And then we have also established these experiments, very easy experiments, we have the representative farmers, and we have also got very promising results. So now the point is coming that there are many technologies, techniques are available to help farmers, right? So as a scientist, so we develop new techniques and technologies. So now the government intervention is very, very important, right? So we need to sensitize more people by, conducting more training programs, so that the technology, what we are developing at the lab, so it needs to go to the land. So in all the countries we have the extension department, for example, in Bangladesh, Department of Agricultural Extension. So in Thailand, Ministry of Agricultural and Cooperative. So we work and then we try to transfer these kind of technologies to the farmers field. So to wrap up my comments, what I would try to say is that, so similar types of technologies, there are lots of technologies are available. So we need to utilize only the low-cost technologies, which farmers they can easily utilize for their production system. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek Dattaji. Actually, dear friends, he has been explaining that the people living in the Meghna Basin, they are living in a ecologically sensitive area, and hence, especially the small farmers needs to be their rights, their livelihood needs to be protected, for which various agroecological knowledge and scientific innovations have been undertaken at AIT. And then, of course, on the basis of some research gaps, some priority areas have been worked out, about which Dr. Abhishek Dattaji has been saying, so that this resilient livelihood, especially in the transboundary regions, can be worked out nicely. So they are working since long, so that's what he has cut short everything in a package of 5 minutes. Probably you can discuss more to know more. With us, we do have Dr. Arvind Kumarji. Now, you know that once we are working in such ecologically sensitive area, there need to have a policy coherence between water, agriculture and climate sectors, so that target is to improve the resilience in the basin. So I would like to know your comments and your issues in this reference, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you IUCN to give me an opportunity to speak here. The Barak-Meghna River Basin is a regional marked by transboundary complexities, ecological fragility, and socio-economic vulnerabilities. Drawing from my experience in the northeast region of the country, and especially with our long-standing engagement with the government of Meghalaya as a knowledge partner to the Meghalaya Basin Development Authority since 15 years. I believe a convergence-based integrated approach is a key to addressing these interlinked challenges, though our contribution to the conceptualization and evolution of integrated basin development and livelihood promotion program, we promoted a mission mode strategy that harmonized intervention in water conservation, agriculture productivity, and climate resilience. We adapted a synergetic top-down and bottom-up approach aligning policy level priorities with grassroots realities for further implementation. While initiation of this program, there were different set of challenges which I am not sure are there currently. The success of IBDLP lay in its ability to dismantle sectoral silos by fostering condition among departments, enabling participatory planning at the community level, and aligning development goals with sustainability outcomes like sustainable practices in agriculture, water, generating alternative livelihoods, etc., as the impact of the economy of the state doubled, and instead of depending on the natural source for livelihood, entrepreneur capacity were enhanced. This holistic model can be suitably adapted for the Barak-Meghna basin, which shared similar topographical, ecological, and developmental characteristics to enhance resilience. In any basin, the framework should offer valuable lessons such as basin-wide resource mapping, localized knowledge, integration, climate resilience, agriculture, and adapted water governance. These elements were supported by policy coherence across central and state agencies and reinforced by regional cooperation mechanism can enable the basin to transition toward a sustainable and resilient future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Dr. Kumar, one small thing. We know that civil society organizations are extremely active in these zones. So how do you think they can bridge the gap between science, policy, and communities strengthening? Any specific issue?
Civil society organization play a pivotal role, especially in complex transboundary river basins. The civil society organization being deeply embedded in the social fabric, understand the pulse of the people, they know the nerve of the stakeholders while maintaining the capacity to influence broader policy and scientific discourse. They serve as a connector, translators, and mobilizers, bringing scientific insight to the communities in accessible forms and channeling grassroots realities into the policy-making processes. Network for Sustainable Development Goals comprising participants from 10 countries, we actively engage in cross-border knowledge and data sharing across diverse sections. In our work across aspiration district of Uttar Pradesh, particularly these bordering Nepal, we contributed to bridging the knowledge policy gap through targeted workshops and community-based engagements. First, CSOs act as a knowledge disseminator, translating hydrological data, climate science, and ecosystem assessments, data climate science, and ecosystem assessment into tools and framework that communities can use the decision making. For instance, by simplifying flood early warning system or facilitating participatory groundwater monitoring, they ensure that science become actionable at the grassroots. Second, CSOs are instrumental in policy advocacy, pushing for inclusive governance, equity and sustainability in transboundary water negotiations. Their dependent voice help bringing community needs and ecological imperatives into dialogues often dominated by national interests or technocrats' agendas. Third, they enable community-led pilots and innovations from climate resilient farming to wetland restoration. They can serve as a scalable model for policy adoption, trust and sustained engagement across border is crucial for transboundary cooperation.
Yeah.
Anchoring science is a lived reality and humanizing policy framework, civil society became a crucial force in advancing equitable resilience and cooperative management of shared river basin. I have discussed the same in length in my book on ecosystem-based adaptation of aquatic resources by elsewhere.
Yeah.
By working directly with communities, CSOs can ensure participation is based on their strength, available resources, fostering a sense of ownership and sustainability through workshop, multi-level engagement. They help bridge the policy knowledge gap, making sustainable development more inclusive and responsive and grounded.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Arvind. One small short comment I need to know about any policy or institutional reform would you like to raise, any pertinent, so that we can build resilience, community resilience?
Yes. It is clear that scaling up nature-based solution and community-led policy solution for livelihood resilience require targeted policy and institutional reforms that are rooted in ground realities, informed by global experience and responsive to local aspirations. Drawing from my experience, it became evident that solution must be deeply contextual, aligned with ecological strengths and driven by the communities themselves. However, fragmented institutional coordination and a top-heavy implementation model often dilute the impact of such interventions. What is needed is a paradigm shift where governance system recognize and integrate the value of the traditional ecological knowledge and indigenous practices into formal development planning. This call for a decentralization of decision making where a village council, cooperatives, and women self-help group have a formal say in designing and executing livelihood schemes. Globally, regional nature-based solutions are shown remarkable promise in addressing the triple challenge of poverty, biodiversity loss, and climate resilience. Whether it's watershed restoration project in South Asia, agroecology initiatives in Latin America, or coastal mangrove protection in Africa, the constant lesson is that success depends on institutional framework that empower communities, secure their rights over the natural resources, and provide long-term capacity support. India's national policies have started recognizing this through programs like Manrega, National Mission of Himalayan Studies, and Jal Jeevan Abhiyan, etc.
Yeah.
Yet the stakeholder, one more minute, need to be more aware of these initiatives, stronger convergence, continuity in the funding, and greater accountability to local outcomes. At the grassroots level, where we have worked extensively, particularly in tribal and border areas, the gap between policy intent and the on-ground impact often stems from a mismatch between schemes and the community capacity. Therefore, institutional reform must include flexible funding mechanism, community-centric monitoring, simplified procedure that allow local innovators and NGOs to access across support without bureaucratic hurdles. Yeah. Furthermore, just for a second, capacity building should not be viewed as a one-time training, but as an ongoing adaptive process that builds local leadership and intergenerational knowledge transfer. Ultimately, it demands that institutions become facilitator rather than the controller, and the policies become enabler rather than the gatekeepers. Experience from the Northeast, informed by the global and national learning, clearly shows that when communities are at the heart of the both design and delivery, resilience is not just built, it's owned, nurtured, and sustained. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ravindji. We have with us Shivang Dorji ji, representing BeamStack. I would like to know that because climate action, climate risk requires joint action. So what do you think, what are the various regional platforms are trying to support the knowledge exchange, technology transfer, so as for climate risk?
Thank you, Dr. Devish. Good morning, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank IUCN, AIT, and South Asian University for bringing in BeamStack to be part of this very important knowledge sharing forum. Before I respond to Chair, so I would like to set two premises. Number one, like with regard to Meghna River basin, Number one, Meghna River basin is faces a serious threat of climate change. Second one, it's in transboundary nature. So in that context, you may understand how important the regional cooperation or role of regional organization in addressing climate-related challenges in the Meghna River basin. So with regard to what kind of support or intervention that BIMSTEC can facilitate, like in the form of technology transfer, knowledge sharing, or climate action, joint action, that could be of relevance or benefit to BIMSTEC. I would like to say that you know that BIMSTEC is an intergovernmental regional organization focusing on technical and economic cooperation in the Bay of Bengal region. It has been in existence for last over 28 years, and environment and climate change is one of the 7 priority areas of cooperation. So within that, we already have a dedicated plan of action, which was approved by the BIMSTEC leaders during the 6th summit held here in Bangkok in last April. So one of the cross-cutting activities in the climate change, which focuses on biodiversity, waste management, and climate change, is the creation of platform for sharing of knowledge and ideas, number 1. Number 2, technology transfer. And number 3, sharing of best practices, including traditional knowledge. So in that context, if there is a, we already initiated to have this knowledge sharing platform at the BIMSTEC level. So any knowledge sharing or technology transfer being initiated at the BIMSTEC level can be tailored to Meghna River basin, especially with regard to like climate change, for instance, best practices for sustainable agriculture practices, technology transfer in terms of like enhancing community livelihood. So those initiatives taken at the BIMSTEC level, regional level, can be easily tailored to.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Just point out some of the successful initiatives, regional cooperation initiatives.
Yeah, sure. Like firstly,
28 years of service.
Okay, so we already have this BIMSTEC Weather and Climate Center established in Noida in Delhi. So what they are doing is they are basically focusing on 2 areas. First one is weather forecasting and then climate modeling. So that can be customized, and then within that, because data and information are already available, so it can be customized at Meghna
so
basin level.
Extended to Meghna River basin.
Yeah, it can be replicated. And then second one is on like this disaster management. So like BIMSTEC has been regularly organizing this disaster management exercise. We just had 4th disaster management exercise last week. So like our focus is on tabletop exercise as well as mock drill. So this can be brought to the community level at the Meghna basins to ensure their disaster preparedness as well as response.
One more thing related to this only.
Yeah.
To strengthen the transboundary community resilience, what are the how to align Bay of Bengal region with the initiatives of BIMSTEC?
Okay. See, like, you know that geographically, this Meghna River basin, I can call it a sub-region within BIMSTEC. It stretches over 2 important BIMSTEC member states, India and Bangladesh. So it may not directly benefit, but the initiatives taken at regional level can be easily tailored or to customize and then brought to the community level at the Meghna basin. Likewise, like whatever ideas or best practices emanated at basin level can be shared with other BIMSTEC members through BIMSTEC platform. So there is a huge potential for collaboration between this Meghna initiative and the BIMSTEC initiatives.
Thank you. Any other point would you like to add up? So that strengthen.
No, just to pick up from yesterday's discussion. In fact, it was a really fascinating discussion. But like different stakeholders discussing, I think like especially I was just observing discussion at with the institution group, like in terms of transboundary issue, it was the lowest priority. But I think given given the transboundary nature of Barak River Meghna Basin, I think it should feature as one of the topmost, because whatever, like in terms of climate impact or any disasters, non-climate related disaster happening in Meghna River Basin, it's interrelated. What is happening at the in the upstream, like in India, Barak. So what is happening in Barak ultimately, like it's trickle down to trickle down to Meghna Basin. So this transboundary nature, I think, which we cannot isolate. What is happening in terms of, even in terms of community livelihood, whatever taking place in Meghna River. So transboundary factor or element has to be featured very prominently in any discussion in Meghna Basin. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dorji sir. We have got friends. We have got Rahul Beshji with us, and he has been working with financial consulting firm, or rather he is the founder of the financial consulting firm. So I would like to know that what are the various microfinance or women-led enterprises which have which can be supported or which can have some bearing on building the community resilience.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Walia. First of all, I think I must acknowledge that I feel more like an aberration in this august company of ecologists and environmentalists, because with finance and consulting background, it seems that I don't really fit in the room, but then it shouldn't be that way, because I think in the yesterday, it was also harped that there is a need for more private sector participation in any such effort. And I think even the role of finance is very, very important when we are talking about resilience. So I would just start by saying that resilience does not just mean bouncing back, but it also means bouncing forward. And in order to do that, I think finance can play a major role. So when we talk about financial services, before I give certain examples, let me just take a few minutes to explain that how financial services are so integral to resilience. Financial services are there, like saving and credit, which help in cash flow smoothing. You can actually, if you have the option to save and invest, then whenever you have surplus funds, you can you have the option to deploy them productively and then utilize them whenever you require them. Credit helps you capitalize on the opportunities. So you may get a business opportunity, you may have a livelihood opportunity, but then if you don't have the funds at the right time, then that kind of increases your vulnerability. But if you have access to credit, then you can actually capitalize on those opportunities. And that helps you build your resilience. It can also help you diversify your livelihoods. So as we know, we are talking about Meghna Basin. I know I'm not a Meghna Basin expert, but I know that most of the people would be probably depending on fishery or forest products, those kind of livelihoods. And as just in the morning, when Dr. Niladri presented, he gave us a very grave picture of how not just climate change, but he called it climate crisis. So there's a need to diversify the livelihoods, which can again help in building resilience of the community. And I think access to finance, credit, saving, and even insurance products can help you diversify your livelihoods and also build social security. The insurance part of it, particularly we have loss-based insurance, or when actually the damage occurs, then you get the funds and insurance. But now we are moving in the face of the climate crisis that this world is facing. More and more financial service providers, particularly the insurers, are also looking at parametric insurances where you are paid out insurance amounts or the coverage amount based on if certain parameters are hit. So say if there is a rainfall which goes beyond certain pre-decided limit, then you may be provided certain coverage amount. or if there is a temperature difference that reaches certain threshold, you may be paid out. So these are called parametric.
Such provisions too
yes,
are there.
Yes,
Because we know that we are in a water-related climate risk basin,
yes.
Meghna Basin. So these are to help vulnerable communities to adapt to such changes.
Exactly.
So can you be more specific so that people here can in this room can understand?
Yes. So I think as we go through this climate change, which has been unprecedented, I think there's a learning curve for all of us. So it's not that financial sectors or financial service provider are experts, but they actually need support from experts like you, because they may be experts in finance, but they don't have the knowledge of the community or the kind of requirements that the community has or the vulnerabilities that the communities are facing. And hence, for the financial service providers to develop the right kind of products, I think sectoral experts or the experts of the domain are needed. So I can just give you one example. Fortunately, before I give the example, fortunately for India and Bangladesh, we have a very, very vibrant microfinance sector. So we all know Professor Mohammad Yunus. He's considered to be the father of microfinance. And then even in India, we have very large MFIs. Bangladesh, MFIs have become international. And therefore, there is a lot of vibrancy in the financial sector. And I think that has a very key role to play here when we talk about resilience.
Yeah.
So in terms of some specific examples, I can give you. One is that there are international NGOs working on, say, housing or green housing or water and sanitation. Typically, financial service providers have been providing loans for income generation activities or for business activities. But then in order to nudge them to come up with products, say, on a green housing product or a wash product, they don't have expertise in that field. So there, the not-for-profits or INGOs or experts like you who know the challenges, who know what kind of requirements community may have, align with these financial service providers in order to help them to develop those products, and not just help develop products, but also nudge them, first of all, to think about developing those products. Yeah. Because inherently, when we talk about some specific products, they come up, they have inherent risks built into it. So if, say, for example, someone has to develop a financial product for Meghna Basin, it comes with a lot of risks, which financial service provider would not be willing to take, unless you come up with certain arrangements that they can understand a business case within that product. Yeah. So this is where international NGOs like Habitat for Humanity, which is a US-based not-for-profit working in low-cost housing, they have partnered with many MFIs in India. Similarly, there's an NGO called water.org, again based out of US, and they have expertise in water and sanitation. They have partnered with several NGOs, several MFIs in India in order to develop water-centric or sanitation-centric loan products. And now they have one of the largest portfolios anywhere in the world in India on water and sanitation, along with the MFIs. There's Opportunity International working on education finance. So these are the products that traditionally financial service providers are not providing. They are mainly looking at it from the business perspective or business loans.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahulji, for discussing with us the readiness of the financial sector to deal with issues of climate change and responding to livelihood needs of the people. Because we know that we are climatically very vulnerable region in this. So where are we in? Means again, just to repeat some of the things. Means what do you think that how we are going to deal the climate vulnerabilities in this region? Means anything, what is the status? Means what you have said at a policy level. So are they, means if anything is required, to whom to consult, or what is the, where are we?
Okay.
That's what.
So as far as the readiness of the financial service providers, as I said, particularly say to climate change, I would not talk about Meghna Basin in particular, but overall sustainability products or this thing, I would look at it from two perspectives. One is that in the face of climate change, the kind of requirements of financial risks that the community faces, will financial sector be able to come up with the products that can help communities in whatever way? So that is one aspect of it, that the kind of products that they can come out, particularly in high-risk zones where the climate-related risks could be more pronounced. The second is the financial institutions themselves have to be prepared for the climate risks. So whether they have proper risk management systems to be able to factor in the climate risks, because this is an emerging risk. So in that respect, first of all, from the stability of the financial sector or the financial institutions to the climate risk, I think there was, in 2015, there was a task force constituted under the Financial Stability Board. That task force gave certain guidelines and a framework for financial institutions to give climate-related financial disclosures. So that framework is there, but this is voluntary for most organizations to adopt. Then at this is a global framework. Then at the national level, most of the central banks are coming up with the frameworks for climate-related risk exposures to reveal that, or disclosures related to that. Even in India, the central bank, RBI, has constituted a unit within its office to look at the climate risks. Yeah. So that is the part where there is at the financial industry. At the community level, I am still, unfortunately, as I said earlier, that the service providers may not have the domain expertise. So we are at a very, very nascent stage where they are slowly coming up with products which can be called sustainability kind of products. So there are financial institutions providing greenhousing products or wash products or even solar products. So there is, so private sector participation is playing a good role, because the private companies who are giving these solar lamps or solar lights, solar panels, have a business case partnering with the financial institutions, yeah, because they can finance the product. So similarly, if there are, if you see that that in Meghna Basin, which is an area of interest for you, that what kind of vulnerability, what kind of financial requirements people have, and you partner with financial service providers, I think we can, there is a lot of opportunity, yeah, for doing that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rahulji. So dear friends, towards a journey for strengthening community livelihood resilience, we have got 4 panelists: sustainable agriculture, to local policy, to regional policy, and then to finance. So what else you expect? So they are there with you. So if you have got any specific question to anyone, you are most... He has joined. All right, all right. So we are very lucky to have one case study. Probably in the beginning you missed it. He announced that there will be 2 case studies. So one of them has joined. Has he joined? Already. So he is waiting. So another case study for 5 minutes. Then he's there. Yeah, he's there online. So you can prepare your question for 4 panelists. In the meantime, we'll discuss one more case study, because so that to make you understand that how, which panelist, which specific field may help develop. Yeah, please. They can, he can, should I, you can invite? He's panelist only? Okay, okay, not the. He's not the. Is he online? Then he can just come in. Oh, he's the panelist. Okay. Yeah, I thought he's the case study. So, yeah, Dr. Fazle Rabi Ahmed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So nice to have you. We missed one panelist during the course of discussion. So I'd like to know some specific thing from you, that how PKSF, the foundation which you are representing, Pali Karma Sahayak Foundation, is supporting the community level adaptation and livelihood resilience in the areas of climate vulnerable areas, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Walia, uh, to give the opportunity to speak something on your question. In fact, I'm supposed to be physically present over there, but due to some unavoidable reason, I didn't attend. But regarding your question, actually, as you know, PKSF is the government-owned company. Is the apex financial institution supported the national level NGOs to work with the community. In fact, we are working through around 200 NGO supporting with their 20,000 branches in all over the country. And our Polli means rural. In fact, we are working in the rural areas. And PKSF actually the entity of Green Climate Fund as well as Adaptation Fund, on the accredited entity of Adaptation Fund.
Yeah, all right.
If you see the Bangladesh NAP, National Adaptation Plan, actually we identified 11 climate stress area and 8 sectors. And PKSF, in fact, work all over the country, everywhere. Right now we have around 4 projects in different climate vulnerable areas, and we are going to implement a project in Haur area, which is near to Assam and Meghalaya and Meghna Basin and highly risk climate risk area in Bangladesh. How we are working with the people? In fact, our around 80 to 90% is our women, our beneficiary is women, and for acting with climate change issues, in fact, in everywhere we make a group. We called it climate change adaptation group. Its number is around 20 to 30 people in that group, and all the decision made by the group, in fact, what is their need, what is their local problem, what is their individual problem, and what might be their activities of a project or action. So even in the GCF project, actually we make idea through the local people. Just ask them what is your problem, what might be your livelihood, what is the challenges due to climate change. As Mr. Gupta already said that temperature is increasing, erratic behavior, rainfall, particularly in pre-monsoon and post-monsoon. And as you know, in the Haurkon 7 district of Bangladesh, actually there is on major crop, that is the winter crop, we call this Boro crop, it is seriously threatened by the pre-monsoon flood. It is supposed to be in the month of May, but gradually it is becoming early May, and now it is late April. Whatever we have the variety, its harvesting period is early May, like that. Bangladesh Rice Research Institute and other institutes, they produce some varieties that is early mature varieties, but still that is not enough. Climate change is so changing, is so rapidly, and so early flood happening. So technology actually could not cover all the changes due to climate. Yeah. And another way, actually, as already it is said, that actually we don't have enough cooperation, the data sharing, early warning system, or modeling data study. That I think there should need a strong coordination between Bangladesh and India, or other part of Bangladesh, Assam, Meghalaya, and other parts. Then I think it could be more feasible to address this. Otherwise, through only the technology or only the community consultation, I think all should not be addressed properly. Yeah. But one thing, we should think actually alternate livelihood as well. Yeah, because Boro crop or winter crop, we need to alternate cropping pattern or alternate crops to develop on that area. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Ahmed, one small thing. We know that, as it was discussed in the morning also, that these vulnerable groups, indigenous people or marginal farmers or women and all, they are remotely located. So what is the mechanism you are adopting so that it goes to the actual vulnerable groups, those who are living in a far off areas, far flung areas? So what is the mechanism you are doing so that your resources reach to the actual vulnerable people or communities or groups, please? In short,
Thank you. A very good question. Very good. As I said earlier, actually we work through the NGOs. We call them partner organization, and they have around 20,000 branches all over the country. That means in every corner, in remote places, they have the branches. So we have the communication with the grassroots people.
Yeah.
We have the community group on that areas, and even some normal way we make meetings in a homestead or a courtyard of a people of the grassroots level. So we have communication. We have communication. We have their ideas as well. But sometimes some problem is actually the financing. Financing is to go the grassroots level. It's expensive. Administrative cost is high, and due to climate change impact, the production is not guaranteed. So repayment is sometimes is very so blended finance to some extent the grant based instrument from sources, because microcredit is prevalent over there. It is working well, but due to severe and repeated climate impacts, that microcredit is not enough to address all the problems of the climate vulnerable grassroots people.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. So nicely you have put up. So, dear friends, 5 panelists are there with us. One is, of course, online. He'll remain with us for online till this session is over. So this session is open for question and answers, please. For 1 or 2 quick questions. Okay. But one question let us take let us, only one question. Yeah, be fast, otherwise that chance will go. 5 important panelists are there, so don't comment, straightforward question.
Sir, I have a question on biochar thing. So I would like to know if you have studied the biochar impact, like if you add biochar to the, what is the impact initially? And like if you study, because I have done a very small study where I tried to analyze the gas emitted, carbon dioxide and methane, and I found that in the initial days it is more of a releasing thing. So if I wanted to know how long you did the study for, and if you also measured the carbon emission from your settings, and how the trend.
Your question is very important. I'll request the panelists to answer to your question during the tea time.
And one question that would like to join both of yours, sir, presentation on, your presentation on showing the scenarios where you have shown that over the years the permanent wetlands are being converted into seasonal wetlands, and you try to emphasize the role of wetlands in terms of flood and droughts. So I was also wondering if you can also do a study to see how this, as we all know, wetlands are very important carbon sink, but if when they are changed from permanent to seasonal, they also get the carbon source. So if that study is there, or maybe I don't know, but if that can be done, that would be helpful for India, at least for get a data on wetlands being very important carbon sink, because when we talk about climate finance, when we link with emission, and we link with BUR report, even at CCC Paris Climate Deal, and like when we have the carbon sink data, it is easier for us to get the climate finance for restoration of the wetlands. Yeah.
So youth is getting activated. So thank you, but you have to ask this question during the tea time. So thank you, our moderator. You please take over.
Yeah.
We'll discuss a little later because time is short.
Thank you so much, Chair. To help synthesize the discussion, I would like to request our co-chair, Dr. M. Mokhlisur Rahman, to share the key takeaways and concluding remarks from today's session.
I think officially there is no time left for me. However, I've made some notes, but I think there will be no enough time to read all these things. But I'd like to say something about Howard first from a microphone is not working. No, working. Hello? Yeah. When I first, visited the Howard in early 90s, the people say that, well, there are many twos. They said we have only two crops, which is rice, and the other one is fish. 2 seasons. We have 6 seasons in Bangladesh, but they said we have 2 seasons. Borsha and Hemonto, meaning the rainy season and the dry season. And 2 types of communities, call it Abadi and Jongoli. Many people migrated into Howard areas, and they started cutting the hijol, koros and other trees, and then they started farming. So the local people used to call them Abadi, meaning the cultivators. And the cultivators call the local people as Jongoli, meaning the wild people. They just catch fish and then eat. And there are 2 disasters. I mean, it's the flash flood and also the natural flood is also, it's not that disaster, but it is also the flooding and causing some problems and issues. 2 communications, we use POW and NOW. POW meaning walking, NOW is the boat. So there are lots of these tools there. But the Howard is very important, and the panelists and case study presenters revealed some good points. But there are worries that, the study, which is going to be published soon, is really very alarming, that the rainfall, the extreme rainfall events will be increasing. We're still having problem. I mean, currently we are having problem. If that would increase in future, that would be a disaster, and maybe would be very difficult to manage. The temperature will be rising, as you said. And that would affect the cropping systems, particularly rice and other crops, limitedly farmed in the upper elevations, and the fish. The temperature and the rainfall variability is very important for the fish to breed naturally. And how do we consider the mother fisheries? Because the fish live there actually support the fisheries enhancement in the adjoining areas, adjoining floodplains or the river systems. And that's why Howard is very important for us. So this, I think, when the report will be published, then we'll get to know more clearly how, what we have to do. And I don't want to mention the names, but the BIMSTEC, I thought that BIMSTEC is sleeping because we don't see anything. But however, he said that there's a good platform for knowledge sharing, data sharing, and they have also focused on climate and environment. Maybe the Meghna Knowledge Forum can use that platform to further strengthen the awareness and technical aspects. About the financing, actually, there are some scientific papers, journal papers on how microfinance can support climate change adaptation. So it is there. And PKSF now, so far, I know because my wife works for the NGO and they're working with the PKSF. So now they have good packages focusing on environment, natural resource management, climate change adaptation. It's good that they have wide coverage all over the country, including the Meghna Basin. So that's a good window. Other thing is that there are JEF and LDCF funding and GCF, but they're so cumbersome to get the money from those sources. It's really very frustrating. The UNDP had a program, it was funded by the SDC. We evolve that engaging is funding going to the local government. So they are actually, addressing the climate change issues on their respective unions, which is micro-level support. And I think that's a good way of, engaging the local government, the union position, very local. They are very locally placed. Some projects, including the UNDP and USAID funded projects, they provided endowment fund. And it's a big chunk of money they put there, and the interest will be used for the continuation of the natural resource management. And it was, both the projects were in the Meghna Basin, Hail Haud and Hakaloki Haud. So there are many windows, but the thing is, are we ready to understand climate change impacts? Are we ready to understand what is the difference between adaptation and resilience? And how could we do that? Our policies are very old. I think forest policy is also very old, I guess. And the fishery is one of the oldest. So, I mean, if these policies are not updated and not incorporating the climate change issues and these threats and what is the way out for this, it's really very difficult. And we are NGOs, civil societies, people, communities. But if the government machinery, the government agencies, not really taking it over and then doing it on the ground, it's very difficult. And whenever we met them, they said, well, what we need to see the paper, the policy, the guidelines, which is approved by the government. So if these climate change issues are not, and the Meghna Basin transboundary management issues, only the environment policy mentioned transboundary, we need transboundary cooperation in resource management. But other policies, water policies, and not really well explicitly mention the transboundary issues. And we're talking about the adaptations. Panelists and the case study presenters have nicely presented all these things. But we often talk about the policy. These are not in the policy. I am not saying they're not in the policy. We need to incorporate in the policy. But so what? We have many policies. And I have found, I was involved in a policy gap analysis, policy execution gap analysis. They don't read the policy. Many policies are, they don't know there is a policy. They don't know how old their policy is. So on the ground I'm talking about, the ground level people. So these are very, I think a barrier, an institutional or knowledge related barrier that we really fail to implement the adaptation things on the ground. So I have many points and I will note it down and pass it on to Deepu afterwards. So thank you very much because time is short. Thank you.
Thank you, Moklas Bhai, and our chair. On behalf of IUCN and organizer, I thank you all speaker, panelists, and our participants for their valuable contribution. Let's continue work together to empower our basin, for our communities, and ensure the future of the Meghna River basin. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepu Bhai, and it was a great facilitation, and thanks to all the chair. Now we are a bit late, so the other session was planned to start from 11:30, which is like almost we are there. So we would like to request you to go out, take your coffee, take 5 minutes to go to toilet or if any other thing you want to use, but then please come back with your cup of tea and